Advances in AI. I'm giving you that link. That is the link that will lead you to exactly this webinar. Alan, okay. Alan, and here is the link that you may want to use. If you open that, you see this, right? So I will probably see you opening that very shortly because it will show me some pictures here. Okay, and what we're going to do, well, first of all, thank you. I see that picture, anonymous koala. All right. So first of all, for those who are new, we're talking about AI, whatever is new in AI. And I'll tell you, every week it is surprisingly more. At a certain point, you might want to say, no, there cannot be any more acceleration. Okay, there's 2 new courses every week. I'm used to that. And they're all essential. But the fact that it will speed up even more, it's just hard to accept. Nevertheless, we have to. So that's what we will talk about today. Here, you see that outline. And that's what we have been talking previous weeks. So it's been more than 2 years. We will probably celebrate 3 years at a certain point. So for that, let's go scroll down. Okay, we're here. And when was it? December 2022. So we'll just have to go for another year and we will be 3 years running. Okay, but let's go back to the beginning. Okay, and I am looking for the text, it's here, and for the participants, it's here. So if you want, if you're here just by accident, then I'm giving you the link, and that is, maybe I should give that link here. So you go to Elephant Scale, and these are the webinars, and yes, I'll give that link, just only that one, because that allows you to subscribe. So here it is. Okay, I think that's good enough. So let us start. And what is different from other conversations is that I try everything. I try everything. I also collect your feedback, your requests for the next session. So this time, what I want to talk about prompts. You know, when this idea of prompt engineering appeared, and you can learn for a couple of weeks and become a prompt engineer for 300,000, that was laughable. But that went away very, very fast. It didn't last for long. However, prompts they are part of the AI culture. They are part of computer science culture. And they often do a lot of things. So today I'm going to look at prompts for the latest OpenAI O3 mini model and what's special about that. Then I will also show you how practically I use prompts in my work, and maybe what I should do is show you also a 2-minute video from Andrew A. That was right here, where I said, please watch this video. Let's take that video, okay, and let us put it on our webinar, what we're going to do, because that directly relates to the prompts, okay? All right, so new prompts. OpenAI released O3 mini model, and the prompts are the only thing that I would say you need. So opening that. So it turns out that this is a new model. And when you go to ChatGPT, if you have the right account, it will right away switch to that. So let's go. Let's go chat here. And let's ask this question. So you said O3, right? What is the latest model? No, I meant ChatGPT model. I lost the share for a second, so I'm sharing again. That's my screen, but you know what? It's inconvenient to have two. So I say stop share, redo share, restart share, and now we see that. No, I meant in Chat GPT world. And I misspell almost on purpose because it will figure it out. So Al says, I used O3 Mini to make a specific detailed system prompt for Mistral, and it worked really well. Yes, that is great. All right, tell us about O3. O3, if you can even tell us anything. Okay, it tells about this, but that's not really what we as developers want to do. What we want to do is look at that. So, advice on prompting. You know, if you remember when Google switched to AI search, they switched to this model, which was BERT, and they had to reteach people. They said, guys, you know how to do search, or you think you know, you just do the best keywords, but that's changing. Now you don't have to use any tricks, just say what you need. And at that time, their estimate was that for 10% of the people, the results will change. Well, today, fast forward, and how often do you use chat, some kind of model, instead of Google? So let me even ask you that question. Here is at the chat, okay? And the question, how, let's say ChatGPT or another model instead of Google, when you need to find out anything. Okay, you can reply and we'll see at least some results. But I usually blame myself for just one mistake, and that is not using AI enough. Whenever I'm doing anything, well, life is much simpler nowadays. I'll talk about this later. But use AI for anything that you need, and that will be your first attempt. Google is the second, because essentially Google says there is somebody in the world who at one point in time had your problem, and he wrote about this. Well, that's an assumption. But ChatGPT looked at all, and you give it your own problem. So why not deal with your problem and not somebody else? That's how you should do things. And these are the advice. Let's read some of them to get the feel of what is new. So developed messages are the new system messages. So instead of saying system, you're saying developer. That's not a big breakthrough. Keep prompts simple and direct. That is much more interesting. So when you talk to this model, kind of forget whatever you knew and just say what you want. Now, also, it's very good to just show examples. That doesn't say it here, but we keep in mind that prompts are one way, examples are another way. And that's what we're talking about. Don't overdo your, don't be too verbose. Okay, Al says depends on the search often, but I think I'll say from using DeepSeek and their site is their search very good And yes, quite different from Google could be, because in China, Google is blocked. You know, if you're trying to walk somewhere, that's what I was trying to do, then there is no GPS. But back, here we are. Okay, yes, both. Now it is at least both. Avoid chain of thought prompts. So it used to be that you realize that ChatGPT is not that good and you would like to say things step by step or explain your reasoning. Well, it's not that it's not needed, but now it does it anyway. Use delimiters for clarity. That's not new. It is something like when you're saying, I am going to give you a piece of text. And then it's much better to say that I will delimit by, let us say, 3 stars. And that the 3 stars at the end will say that it is the end, or 4 stars, or anything. So make it a little bit formatted. That's the new one. Try zero shot first. In other words, don't think it is stupid. Think it is very, very smart. That's what you need to say. So few shot is where you give it an extended explanation of what you want. Well, try to just say what you want and so on. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm telling you that is what prompts are. That's what is very important. I think I should show you this video and only then go to a practical example. So here we are. We have Andrew Ng. In order to see this 2-minute video from Andrew Ng, I will stop share. I will share again. This time I'm sharing together with the sound. And then I'm going to this Twitter, which I saw just accidentally, but it's a great illustration. There you are.
Detection. Traditional object detection in computer vision requires drawing a lot of bounding boxes to label data and then training a neural network, and it's just a time-consuming process. With agentic object detection, you write a prompt saying what you want, like unripe strawberries, and a visual AI agent thinks for a while, and then you get a result like this. Looks like I did a good job getting only the unripe strawberries here. This requires labeling 0 training examples. I'm excited about this because it changes the workflow of visual AI problems, where instead of having to get data and label it and train a model and so on, you just say what you want, and then you get a result. Agentic systems refers to AI systems that use design patterns like reflection and tool use and planning and multi-agent collaboration to reason at length about the task before generating a high-quality output. In comparison, using large multimodal models or LLMs for object detection is akin to glancing at an image and immediately spitting out a result. Our agentic object detection takes longer to reason about an image, similar to how OpenAI's R1 and DeepSeek R1 take a while to reason about text problems to then generate a much higher quality output. So you can just write a prompt like planes with 2 engines and get a result. Or Kellogg's branded cereal and get a result. In our internal benchmarking, agentic object detection significantly outperforms systems by other leading teams. One weakness is that it does take a while, maybe 20 to 30 seconds, to process an image. But this is a work in progress, and our team is working hard to make this better, so you can expect many updates over time. I could never have built an object detection system this quickly before. Please have fun playing the demo on our website, and for developers, check out the API too. I hope you build some cool things with this.
Okay, what I wanted to show is not this great new system by Andrew Ng. By the way, it's available on their site. It's not part of, let's say, ChatGPT. ChatGPT, I believe, does pretty much similar things. And that brings up the daja of Sam Altman. He mentioned that in the beginning of AI, people were betting essentially against AI. They were saying, we can improve that particular thing, or we can talk to these documents, which the regular model doesn't do, and that's our ticket to success. But recently they switched, and 95% of them assume that the model will do exactly what magic they need, and therefore don't bet against it. You work on something that was really important for you. Don't vex the AI. That is an example of what Andrew is saying. The new AI, well, just does what you need. So practically, I have a problem, well, solved already problem that is called a rep extraction with AI. What is a rep? Okay, let's check. Rep in the world of FBI. So it's called the rep sheets. It combines all of the, that's what rep sheets are, combines all of the person's arrests, bad behavior, show up in court, and all the other things. That's what rep is, okay? And my problem is take these documents, which I cannot show because these are exactly distribution control documents, but I will show you the code because that's completely perfectly okay. And process it so that you will get good results. Okay, that is something I'm working on in my team. So let me show you. The correct repository. And let me open the data. That shows you the rep form, of which I will show you only the top part. That's what it looks like, the real stuff. It's about don't do or do, and then name and so on. So up until now it's good. Later on, don't show, but I am not showing. What I need is result extracted because that form comes in very many variations. One little variation kills any of your algorithm based on regular expressions. Well, that's exactly the task for ChatGPT. Then you can also tell it that, by the way, do you know what it is? And it will tell you, yeah, of course, it's a rep form. I know such things. Well, what I need is an extraction in this form. Give me arrest number, give me arrest date, give me the agency, and all of the other things. Well, that is exactly what I need to do. Okay, how do I do it? Good question. I go here and I look at how to run the very first time, but then how to run every next time. So that's a regular structure that we use. Cat this regular structure, and it says just source your requirements. Just go into the virtual environment that you have for that particular lab or that particular project, and then do Jupyter Lab. So let's do Jupyter Lab, and it will open. Okay, so what you see is this is the data directory and all the other computational stuff that doesn't go to Git because it shouldn't. But the rest, it's quite open. So what I do then is open the notebook, which tells you exactly how that's done. Well, and we refactored, it's really well structured now. So we start by extract text all field files, and that does OCR because many times it is paper and requires scan paper, requires OCR, and then get all the text. That's all step number one. And then step number two is process all files. So process all files, it's under LLM. If I open the PyCharm, I usually use both. I use the running real life version and PyCharm, and you might combine them. I think if I set it right in PyCharm, I can run it even in there, but I do it separately. What's important is the prompt group. So let's look at prompts, and that will give us an idea. How do you do that what Andrew Ng just showed? How do you do the wonderful extraction of images or of text? Let's look at some examples. In the end, it will be 19 prompts. It took us about 2 weeks to come up with the right prompts, but it was not that hard of work because we don't work on it 8 hours a day. We just do an attempt, ask the expert to verify that the extraction worked correctly, and run the whole form. It takes us practically 10 hours to run 600 forms, which of course is compared to what the expert would do. That would be a mind-numbing task. All right, group-related details. Use separators containing 2 to 4 asterisks. Okay, that's how this forms. Why 2 to 4? Well, really it is 4, but sometimes OCR loses these wonderful asterisks, so you need to explain that these are the examples. All of that will go to ChatGPT. Really, it is ChatGPT. Our implementation is on Azure, and Azure runs its own API to access ChatGPT, which is structured, but it is really ChatGPT, just that it's coming from a somewhat different source. So that is what you need. You need to look at your form and tell it exactly what to do. Then increment arrest number consistently. The form talks about arrests. So unfortunately, some people have to be arrested. And assign the arrest number. In other words, you see what's going on. It's dull, but you do it only once. Then consolidate duplicate entries. What if the same arrest happens to be twice? Well, don't build complicated logic. Just tell it if that happens, do it. Consolidate that. Ignore text after a special marker. In these forms, there is a special big marker which says don't look down. Well, just tell it, don't look down, and you will be good. Okay, more and more. I hope that gives an idea of how do you explain yourself to AI, and the result is that it works pretty flawless right now. Takes us about 2-3 attempts because perhaps in a new county, we're doing it for California counties. In a new county, maybe a little bit format will be different. So it does take some adjustment in this, but as you can see, that requires a new thinking. New thinking is get used to this discipline, know what you're doing, relax. And what happens to relax is helps you to relax is AI. Now coming back to where we are, we're talking about AI and all the practical things for building AI application. That is what interests me in particular. And these are the things. We changed the order, so let's say that we did change the order. That's how it really went. But the end result is that I showed how you practically do that. And so, well, I am very interested in real life application. Building AI, that is not the same as applications. There are pluses and minuses both ways, but it's a whole incredibly big world with incredibly big sea of potential applications that you might want. That is what we talked about here in this introduction. Now, the next thing is that this is a quote from Andrew Ng, how transformer LLMs work. Now, I'll give you a little bit of a background. Transformers became famous and popular. They essentially replace all the previous neural networks. If you heard about convolutional neural networks, that's for images. If you heard about recurrent neural networks, that's for moving targets, for moving images, let's say, for text. Well, when transformers came, And BERT was the first transformer, and BERT is an abbreviation where the last letter T is BERT. And then GPT, the last letter of GPT, it's also transformer. So that is the new type of neural network that you could see in other places. But the fact that we are not talking about a LM language model, we're talking about a large language model. That really changed everything. The last 2 years, it's non-stop ride on AI. And that is the first book that is about how exactly the large scale model, when it is a transformer, how do they work? So what I will do is I will open that course. It's again one of the end-to-end courses. That is the first one dedicated to the book. And the two authors here, they know quite a lot about open source and how that works, and that is what the book is about. Now here, there is very little examples. Usually such courses, they have notebooks. You can download notebooks right here. I'll give you an example what you can do. Tokenizer, that has a notebook. So you start that, the guy begins to talk after a while, but then the notebook appears and you can say file download. Well, there are only two different notebooks here. So what you can do, if you want it to run locally, then you say notebook download as a notebook. Of course, by then you have to know just a little bit about what you're doing. Or you can run any of these notebooks straight in here. I'll show you how that really works. So it's Shift and Enter does that. And that does work. They made sure that it works. Of course, you want it in your local environment. Otherwise, you're doing a TV show, but you really want it to work on your computer. So I'm verifying that, yeah, it works. But what is special about this is that there are very, very few examples, and mostly it's lectures. And let's look about what the lecture is about. That's why I prepared this to you. So most of the book is a repeat. I'm not denigrating you because you need to repeat, but it's talking about why those models are great, why they work, and they didn't work when they were small. They didn't work when it was a bag of words. It all changed with embeddings. Embeddings is mapping your words to numbers, and then encoding and decoding. That is already the beginning of transformer theory, and all of that is about transformers as they are. In the end, he talks about how you can imagine. You cannot really easily understand that, but you can imagine how it works. He gives a model example, and an example is how do you work with the resulting model. So what is different about this book is that it's the first book dedicated to large language models. You see, he shows how you can talk to that. But where did this explanation go? Well, there was no real big serious explanation because we're talking about taking this transformer, scaling it up to 10,000 GPUs, and I think that's an old number because by now Mark Zuckerberg, he talks about millions of computers and millions of GPUs, so maybe next models will be more. All right, so that's what the book is about. I'm not going deeper because I didn't see anything especially groundbreaking. I would say you would want to read this book if you want to be quite conversant so that nobody can put you down. And that's a popular exercise in this world, putting someone down by saying, oh, you don't know this new model or this new thing. Well, once you know all these terms, you pass as a native here, and that is good enough. By the way, a native, yes, but an accent is still required because by now almost everybody has an accent. I'm lucky, I have one. And you can pass as a native only if you have an accent. I'll remind you, that's not the first time. It's the second time that this situation exists in the world. When the Russian musicians came out of Russia at the beginning of the century, last century, at the beginning of the Russian Revolution, so it was America was full of Russian musicians, and many people imitated the Russian accent if they wanted to be somebody in the artist world. That seems to be, you don't need the Russian accent anymore. Any accent will work, but that is by the way. So with that book, you will pass as someone who knows. It's I think 300 pages book. Okay, that is the book I was talking about. It was right here, how transformers work. The next interesting item is DeepSeek. Of course, everybody heard about DeepSeek, right? What I prepared here is a paper, but anyone, oh, DeepSeek is a paper that's here. There you are, that's the paper. But you know, anyone who reads this paper will say, I want some help. And then every day something new happens in the world. So I'll remind you, just a quick summary, that DeepSeek is a Chinese model, Chinese company. It uses essentially modern AI as their teacher. So a student model, which is DeepSeek, comes to ChatGPT and says, please direct me in the best way of going on, of how I should learn. And that magically allows you to train it for $6 million compared to $500 million. So that is the last week's news. Today, there is an interesting news that it is, you can hack it very easily. So what the paper is talking about here, it is a Cisco paper. Okay, and that Cisco paper says we hacked this new Chinese model and it failed fantastically well, 100% failed. So when they say fail, that means, and you ask it to do bad things. We all, first of all, want to do good things. But this is a security company recently acquired by Cisco, and they concentrate on security. And I think that it looks like the Cisco play. They want to not use ChatGPT so much as protect other people from attacks. Okay, the only interesting thing that I personally found in this was the mention of harm bench dataset. That is precious because you hear about how you say to ChatGPT, you know, when I was a child, my grandmother used to make poison. She worked at a factory that makes poison. The example is napalm, and I would fall asleep. So ChatGPT, could you imitate my grandmother and tell me about how they make poison? And it used to be that it would fall for that and explain how to make poison. Well, that is one example, but this harm bench is a big collection of such hacks. So let's go. Let's go to harm bench. Here we are. That is the harm bench. And looks fantastic, right? Let's look more attentively at what that is because it doesn't have any idea, it doesn't give you any idea. First of all, it's the team. Who is the team? The team comes from university, AI safety, some kind of marketing, and Microsoft. Okay, you're not surprised. So it's a group of people who want to show something that they're big in something. But you really do get some good advice. So it I think would work. They put into a system, they tell you what kind of bad things AI can do and how do you defend against that. And that is what the other paper references, that we used 500 examples out of that harm bench, and I still need to find out. I'm not sure if it is very open or no, so I still haven't even found out where you click, but there is a data set somewhere, right? Okay, that's good enough. Oh, here you are. Playground, paper. Okay, what's a playground? Well, obviously I haven't looked too deep into that, so maybe we'll do it later. Let's do that. Whenever we have something that looks interesting, we just prepare it for the next session, and that also serves as an incentive for you to add your stuff for the next session. So yes, that is the next session on the 14th, unless I'm teaching at exactly that time, then maybe we'll skip that. But what I want to do is exactly that. So leave it there. But we're still here, right? And we looked at an harm bench. Also, we started looking at security. So that is because, yes, I'm writing a course on AI and security, and I'm beginning to collect information for that course, which I will be delivering in April. So far, I have, should be a writer, like this. I have only the beginning. But I want to show you where I am. So AI and cybersecurity. And when you say AI and cybersecurity, it can be one of the two things. How can AI help you to break somebody else's cybersecurity? That is the most. But my focus here is, that's what they want, how to protect your AI implementations against hacking. All right, if that's what we're doing, then I'm collecting notes, and so far, there's nothing. That is, I think, what kind of won me the contract when I made that statement that there are no known good guidelines. Well, but since then I started collecting even the bad guidelines for cybersecurity. And the reason I opened that is because there were a few interesting things here. So it was that. Let's go there. That's a new paper, okay? And it says how you measure LLM for hallucination vulnerabilities. So hallucination is, of course, when it doesn't give you the right answer. I've seen a paper how doctors use hallucinations to come up with something new. But this one says hallucination is definitely something bad. And how do we measure? So that's one example of what I'm doing in preparing this course. Another example would be to bring some security items every time. So right now I just showed you the harm bench, and I said that if we have a little bit more time, we'll look at these items. And that was the paper, but we are not going to look just at the paper. Instead, I looked at Andrew Karpathy. What is special about Andrew is that he is, I don't remember all of the companies he worked for, but he was the boss of AI in many places. He has also inimitable style where he talks about the new things. He gets tens of millions, I believe, views, and that is his blog, his tweet on R1. R1 is this model of DeepSeek, where he says that there is a new play between data and compute. And he says they are almost equivalent because your new compute can generate more synthetic data, We already know there are multiple models that are trained purely on synthetic data. So when people say, oh, AI will run out of ideas because it feeds on human data and it's limited, well, you can synthetically generate more. So that's off. My argument is still on. My argument is that the average person in the world is not a genius. And I think you would agree with that, because a genius is by definition somebody who is much smarter than the average. And that ChatGPT cannot do. That's my suggestion, because it learns only from average individuals. It's just, it knows many languages. And we all know just a few. That's the difference. But becoming a genius is something that nobody has even quite defined. So he talks about that you can get more data, and maybe, just maybe, with more training, you will get to the level of a genius, and maybe not. Well, that's open, and maybe next week will tell us something about this. But that is the only thought that I saw that was interesting about that. And let's look at where we were. We were right here, okay? And people talk about computer use from Anthropic. All I wanted to mention is that by now, almost everybody has this computer use in their model. So we'll leave it for later. We will not go there. We might come back to that. I even put it here, but I think that was enough. That was a lot of information, by the way. All of that is recorded. You can find it on this same site. So that's Elephant Scale webinars. And then if you click here, then, okay, there will be all the previous recordings. The last one was 131, so today is not here, but this one was here. You can look up the previous one. All right, now what I'm doing is going back here, turning off my camera, turning off my mic for a second. Okay, and usually when I turn all of that off, somebody comes up with a question. Okay, what does ChatGPT say that it cannot look on anything more recent than 2023 when it performs hallucinations and you call it out? That's a good observation. Well, let's read it again. Why does ChatGPT say that it can't look at anything more recent than 2023, which we know is not true? It has a web search tool, and you don't even have to say use the web search tool. You just say go search the web and tell me, like this, chat search the web and tell me. Now, what do we want it to tell? Let's see. Well, about your competitors. It's a good opportunity for it to hallucinate. Okay. But I'll remind you of one very nice thing that it can do. And that is write an essay about that. Because it should switch to Canvas. So it just wrote an essay. Well, I wanted to show you how it switches to Canvas. Okay, you see, it changes the format. That's a writing document that you use together. You're beginning a co-editor. So you're saying here that explain that a bit more. And for that, you select that, and it should come up with the hasn't finished. Okay, so maybe that. Where's the pop-up? It usually shows you the pop-up. But it explained this. And here, oh, it did it. Explain it. If sources. All right, that is just an illustration. But back to your question, Charles. So when it makes a mistake, it says, oh, sorry, I don't know. I'm just a simple language model. But then when you ask about your recent information, how does it find it? Because it is allowed to search. And do you have a web search tool? Do you have a web search tool? It will say yes, of course. But the answer to your question, I believe, Al, good question. So we'll answer it in a second. You know, well, it's a good question. Let's put it on our next session. Here. But back to Charles' questions, is that it's like a lazy student. It will try to avoid the work. It will try to tell you what you want and get rid of you. And that is why it can give you the wrong answer. That's okay. That's what humans do anyway. And you can corner it. So it becomes what it is. It's artificial assistant with its own character. I hope that was your question. So don't worry about hallucination. That's what I would say, because they are working on it. I have seen just recently another paper, how you avoid hallucination, and they will incorporate it. So, if you're building something on top of that, my personal advice would not be don't worry about hallucinations. Do some checks if you need to put it in, but keep in mind that the next week they will already overcome that problem. Or bring us good examples next time and argue. So DeepSeek better than Alibaba's Qwen. I would start by saying that DeepSeek is only 6 million to train. That is much, much less than anyone. So I would start there, but let me research. I don't know. Great. So I want to thank you very much and reveal my purpose. Well, my purpose is to meet people like you guys to talk about. Well, I'm interested in building applications. I'm building my company around that. And this weekly webinar absolutely forces me to look at the every great last piece of news, because otherwise, well, you see the snail mail over there on that shelf. That's what happens when nobody forces you to do stuff you don't. But if you do it every Friday, then you do it. So thank you very, very much for your feedback, for being here, and I wish you a great weekend and then followed by a great year.